What if the most powerful medicine for your heart wasn't in a pharmacy? It was in your shoes. No prescription needed. No expensive equipment. No gym membership. Just movement. But here's what nobody tells you. Your heart doesn't wait until you've walked for an hour to start responding. It begins changing within the very first minutes of a walk. And those changes? They go far deeper than most people ever realize. Today we're breaking down the exact science of what walking does to your heart, minute by minute, week by week, and month by month. Not motivational fluff, not vague fitness advice, pure physiology. Because once you understand what's actually happening inside your chest every time you lace up and step outside, you will never look at a simple walk the same way again. Part 1. The moment you take your first step, your heart is already working. Picture this. You've been sitting on your couch, scrolling through your phone. You decide to get up and go for a walk. Seems simple, almost too simple to matter. But your heart doesn't see it that way. The second your muscles start moving, they demand more oxygen. And your heart, your most loyal organ, immediately answers that call. Heart rate climbs. Blood vessels begin to dilate. Blood flow is redirected toward the muscles that are working hardest. Your sympathetic nervous system fires up, releasing chemical signals that tell the cardiovascular system, "We're moving, adjust everything." This isn't a small reaction. This is a full-scale internal mobilization. What looks like a casual stroll around the block is, from a physiological standpoint, a controlled stress test for your cardiovascular system. Your body is fine-tuning blood pressure, regulating heart rate, and optimizing circulation, all simultaneously, like an orchestra tuning itself before the performance begins. And here's what makes walking uniquely powerful. Unlike explosive movements like sprinting or jumping, walking delivers a steady, predictable challenge to the heart. It works harder, but not violently. It's challenged, but not damaged. And this precise combination of effort and recovery, repeated consistently, is exactly the stimulus that makes the heart stronger over time. The heart, quite literally, learns from every walk you take. Part 2. What's happening inside your blood vessels? The part nobody talks about. Most people think of walking as a leg thing. Move your legs, burn some calories, done. But your blood vessels are doing something remarkable during every single walk. And this piece of the story is almost never discussed. As blood flow increases during walking, it creates physical force against the inner walls of your arteries. This force isn't damaging, it's actually a trigger. It stimulates the release of a molecule called nitric oxide from the endothelium, the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels. Nitric oxide acts like a natural muscle relaxant for your arteries. It signals the vessel walls to expand, become more flexible, and reduce resistance to blood flow. Why does this matter enormously? Because stiff arteries are one of the primary drivers of high blood pressure, and high blood pressure is one of the biggest risk factors for heart attack and stroke. The more flexible your arteries are, the better they handle the natural fluctuations in pressure that happen dozens of times every day. Every walk you take is essentially a flexibility training session for your arteries. And just like muscles, arteries that are regularly challenged become more capable, more responsive, and more resilient over time. Active people don't just have stronger hearts, they have healthier, more elastic blood vessels. And that combination, a stronger pump working through more flexible pipes, is one of the core reasons regular walkers have dramatically lower cardiovascular risk than sedentary people. Part 3. The metabolic chain reaction. Walking does far more than burn calories. Here's where most fitness content gets lazy. They tell you walking burns calories. True, but that's the least interesting thing happening metabolically when you walk. The real story is the chain reaction underneath. Walking improves insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells become better at absorbing glucose from the blood without needing massive insulin spikes. This directly reduces your risk of type 2 diabetes, which is itself a major driver of heart disease. Walking helps regulate cholesterol balance, nudging LDL, the harmful kind, lower while supporting HDL, the protective kind. This directly affects plaque buildup in your arteries over time. Walking reduces chronic low-grade inflammation, the same type of systemic inflammation we discussed with visceral fat. This inflammation is a core mechanism behind arterial damage, plaque formation, and ultimately, heart attacks. And speaking of visceral fat, walking is one of the most effective tools to reduce it. Even when the scale barely moves, regular walking is quietly pulling dangerous fat away from your organs, reducing the inflammatory burden on your entire cardiovascular system. The point is this: when you walk, you are not just moving your body, you are changing your internal chemistry. The scale is the least interesting thing to watch. The real transformation is happening at the cellular level, in your vessels, your organs, your hormones, and your metabolic machinery. Part 4. The tipping point. When walking stops being a warm-up and starts building protection. Here's the question science has actually tried to answer. Is there a minimum amount of walking that genuinely protects the heart? Yes. And it's more specific than just move more. Research consistently shows that the cardiovascular benefits of walking become measurably clear when you cross a certain threshold, not just in total time, but in how that time is structured. Quick movement bursts throughout the day, walking to the kitchen, pacing during a phone call, a 2-minute stretch between meetings, are valuable for breaking up sedentary time, but they typically don't generate the sustained cardiovascular stimulus that research links to heart protection. What does? Continuous walking at a meaningful pace, the kind where your heart is clearly working above its resting level, sustained long enough for the body to shift into genuine exercise mode. Most major health guidelines and large population studies converge on a practical target: approximately 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity per week. For most people, that translates to roughly 30 minutes of brisk walking on most days of the week. This is the threshold where the cardiovascular signal becomes loud and clear. Below it, you still benefit. But above it, the protection compounds significantly. And brisk matters here. The sweet spot for most people is walking at a pace where you can hold a conversation, but you can feel that your breathing is heavier than normal. Fitness professionals call this the talk test. You're working, but you're not gasping. This is where the heart receives a strong enough stimulus to adapt without being overwhelmed. Part 5. What happens after the walk? The hidden window of heart protection. Most people think the benefits of walking are confined to the walk itself. Walk more, heart works more, done. But one of the most clinically significant effects of walking happens after you stop. It's called post-exercise hypotension, and it's one of the primary reasons doctors recommend walking to patients with high blood pressure. After a walk, your blood pressure often drops below its pre-exercise baseline, and this effect can last anywhere from 1 to several hours. Your blood vessels, still relaxed and responsive from the increased blood flow during the walk, continue to offer less resistance. Your heart works more easily. Pressure throughout the system stays lower. For people managing hypertension, this window of reduced blood pressure, repeated day after day through consistent walking, adds up to a meaningful long-term drop in average blood pressure over weeks and months. Your heart rate also tells a story over time. In the beginning, a brisk walk might spike your heart rate dramatically and take a long time to recover. With consistent training, something remarkable happens. Your heart rises less for the same effort and returns to baseline faster afterward. This is called improved cardiac efficiency. Your heart is doing the same mechanical work while expending less energy to do it. Like upgrading from an old, inefficient engine to a precision-tuned motor that delivers more power with less fuel. And this improvement isn't just a number on a fitness tracker. Lower resting heart rate and faster recovery are directly linked to reduced risk of cardiovascular death in multiple large-scale studies. Your heart is quite literally becoming better at staying alive. Part 6. Pace versus duration. What science says about getting more from every walk. Here's a question that comes up constantly. Is it better to walk slowly for longer or faster for less time? The research has a clear answer. Observational studies tracking thousands of people over years consistently show that those who walk at a brisk pace have lower rates of cardiovascular death than those who cover the same distance at a slow stroll. This tells us something critical. Intensity matters, not just duration. Minutes alone don't tell the full story. The pace you maintain during those minutes dramatically influences the cardiovascular signal your heart receives. There's also an advanced strategy worth knowing: interval walking. Instead of maintaining a single pace throughout your walk, you alternate between short bursts of faster, more intense walking and periods of easier recovery pace. Research shows this approach can deliver exceptional cardiovascular benefits in less total time, improving conditioning, blood pressure control, and metabolic markers more efficiently than steady-state walking alone. A practical example: walk hard for 2 minutes, ease off for 2 minutes, repeat throughout your walk. It sounds simple, but the cardiovascular stimulus it creates is significantly stronger than a flat, moderate-paced walk of the same duration. For people who find standard walking too easy but aren't ready for running, interval walking is the bridge. And for people managing blood pressure or blood sugar, it's one of the most evidence-backed tools available. Part 7. Signs your heart is actually responding. What to watch for. One of the most common frustrations people have is, how do I know if this is actually working? I can't see my heart changing. Fair point. But your body gives you signals, if you know what to look for. Improved exercise tolerance is the first sign. You'll notice that the same walk that used to leave you winded now feels manageable. Your body is covering the same distance with less cardiovascular strain. That's real, measurable adaptation. Faster recovery is the second signal. In the early weeks, your heart rate might stay elevated for many minutes after you stop walking. As fitness builds, it snaps back to baseline faster. This recovery speed is one of the most reliable indicators of cardiovascular conditioning. Daily life feels lighter. Climbing stairs without getting breathless. Carrying groceries without your heart pounding. Moving through your day without that heavy, dragging fatigue by evening. These aren't small things. They're your cardiovascular system operating at a higher level of efficiency. Blood pressure readings change. For people tracking their numbers at home, consistent walking, especially combined with sleep and diet improvements, often shows measurable drops in systolic and diastolic pressure over weeks. Sleep quality improves. Anxiety decreases. Mental clarity sharpens. These aren't separate from heart health. They're deeply connected to it. The cardiovascular system is exquisitely sensitive to stress, cortisol, and sleep quality. When walking improves all three, the heart feels the difference. You don't need expensive technology to track these changes. Your body is already reporting the data. You just need to know what to listen for. Part 8. Building the habit. The real reason most people never get the benefits. Understanding the science of walking and actually walking consistently are two entirely different challenges. The number one reason people fail to build a walking habit isn't motivation. It's not time. It's that they treat walking as an extraordinary event rather than a daily default. The solution is deceptively simple. Make it structural, not motivational. Attach your walk to something that already happens every day without fail. After your morning coffee. After lunch. The moment you get home from work. The brain builds habits through repetition linked to existing cues. And once the link is established, the decision to walk largely disappears. You just go. Habit stacking amplifies this further. Pair your walk with something genuinely enjoyable. A podcast you only listen to while walking, music that elevates your mood, a phone call with someone you care about, or a route through a place you find beautiful. When the walk itself becomes something you look forward to, consistency stops being a discipline problem. Think of your weekly walking time the way you think of medication. You wouldn't skip doses randomly and then double up later expecting the same effect. Walking works the same way. Regularity is the mechanism. Perfection is irrelevant. A 25-minute walk 4 times a week, done consistently for 6 months, will do infinitely more for your heart than a 2-hour walk once every 2 weeks. The heart responds to patterns, not heroic one-time efforts. The walk is the medicine. The heart is one of the most responsive organs in the human body. Push it appropriately, and it adapts. Challenge it consistently, and it strengthens. Give it the right stimulus repeatedly, over time, and it protects you in ways that no pill fully replicates. Walking isn't the consolation prize for people who can't do real exercise. It is, for most of the world's population, the most accessible, most sustainable, and most evidence-backed tool available for long-term cardiovascular health. You don't need to be an athlete. You need to be consistent. The threshold isn't in some extreme place. It's 30 minutes. A brisk pace. Most days. That's where the science draws the line between moving through life and actively protecting it. Every walk you take is a deposit into an account your heart is keeping. The balance builds slowly, but it builds. And one day, in a doctor's office, on a flight of stairs, in a moment when your heart needs to perform, you'll be glad you made those deposits. Start today. Your heart already knows what to do. If this video changed how you see your daily walk, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks walking isn't real exercise. And drop a comment below. What's the first change you're going to make to your routine starting this week?